Hey everybody, welcome back. We've got the last little section of 4.1 here. What's wrong with these surveys? That's the plan. We're going to talk about what's called bias today. Now, the first thing that we normally do in here, and there's a couple of Desmos items out there. I tweaked one yesterday that will go through and run students through this. You might find that easier to work with if you like typing better. But the idea here, and if you want these notes again, remember those are on the link below. Is for students to go through and read through this and just kind of say what's wrong with it initially, and then we'll formalize it later so they can kind of get a good name for that. So the mayor of Springfield, I can't do a mayor of Springfield imitation. I should have practiced. Sorry. Is interested in finding out the average age of the people in the city. He obtains a list of landline telephones in the city and then contacts simple random sample of 300 people. He uses the data to estimate the average age of the people in all the cities. So what are some of the things that are wrong with that? Students will usually identify this, especially as we get further on. I mean, this is, I think, the third year I've used this. And as we get further on, people are like, landlines, who uses those? And so, excuse me, you would say, they usually say something like he uses only people with landlines. People without those. Landline phones aren't, or actually even can't be surveyed. And so then oftentimes people actually, they'll talk about, younger people having cell phones, which is fine. Homeless people not having phones, that is fine. That type of thing. So all of that is good. Do you think the mayor will over or underestimate the true mean of the age? It's pretty safe to say they're going to overestimate it, since younger people usually use only their cell phone. Something like that. You could say older people are the ones with landlines. So all sorts of options there. So that's the type of responses you'll get from that. Sorry, bumped my light. The administration is at a school wants to know the proportion of students that did all of their homework last night. They select a simple random sample of 100 students and send an email to each of them asking if they did all their homework last night. They get 40 responses. 36 said they did all their homework, and 90 last night, which turns out to be 90%. What's wrong with that survey? That survey has what? Yeah. Only 40 people responded. What else could happen? Usually somebody says, oh yeah, students could lie about it. I know from having kids, a lot of times they'll say, yeah, I did homework, and then they didn't. Or you probably know it because you're the student and did that yourself about doing homework. So like they said yes when they didn't do it. Do you think the administration will over or underestimate the true proportion of this? This would be definitely one where you probably overestimate students. Students might lie. Because the administration is asking. You might get something like only the kids who really do their homework or want the affirmation would we respond. All sort of options like that. They could also, those who didn't do the homework. Didn't respond. it's stuff like this, honestly, that makes me frustrated as a math or as a stats teacher, because you see stuff that your community does, and you're like, that's not right, but people generally don't know any better. But now you do, so you can inform them. Boy Scout Peter wants to know the proportion of people in his neighborhood who support the Boy Scouts. He takes a random sample of 30 homes and visits them dressed in his uniform. What's wrong with that survey? People will usually say he's in uniform. Why is that a problem? Okay, that's going to affect the responses. Are you going to really tell people, somebody in a Boy Scout uniform, that you don't support the Boy Scouts? Yeah, some will, some may not. So, so would people say no? Say they don't support the Boy Scouts to someone in uniform? Do you think Peter will over or underestimate this? This is probably going to be an overestimate, because again, if you think about what's going to happen, if somebody's going to err on the side of saying you're going to not tell the truth, it's probably going to be people who normally say no, we don't support them, but then do. So overestimate. Uniform could cause people, could cause no people. You say yes. Now, I do want to quickly go through here, because there's 4 different types of bias that you're seeing in here. We're going to talk about them on the next page. But before we close up here, I want to go ahead and just go ahead and point these out by name. This one up here, very appropriately, is called undercoverage, because you're not covering enough of the people of enough of the population. Okay, there are holes in that gap. Down here, you actually have 2 of them. This right here is called non-response. So you have an issue because you're sending things out and you're waiting for people to fill things back. And there's, honestly, there's, in some ways, you need to be conscious of the non-response. And we'll talk about what numbers actually make sense, but you have to be conscious of the non-response to say if what you're, in how you're doing surveys, because obviously, in some ways, that's the only way you can really go and do it easily. Students could the students could be lying one. This is called response bias. Okay, and actually, that's the same thing as what's going down here. Okay, response bias is where you're affecting the response based upon what the interviewer is doing. Okay, so here you're getting a survey about something that's going on from the administration, and you're like, I don't know if I really want to tell them the truth that I don't do my homework. Down here, same idea. Okay, so that's the problem with some of those. Okay, so time to go ahead and switch videos. The second one's going to summarize this very nicely up in the top. Go through an example, and we'll see you soon.